Hello YouTube, today we are reviewing the Sanlaki Gunstock for VR. First thing I want to say about this is a genuine Sanlaki. There are lots of copies out there on Etsy and eBay. Make sure you get an original and I will put the link for that Etsy shop in the description below. So what is it? Well, it's a top-down style gunstock, meaning that you attach the controllers from the bottom, and also it's a magnetic gunstock, which means that the controllers have a magnet attached to them, and that in turn attaches to the gunstock. So why is that good? Well, if you're used to using a more realistic rifle, maybe a real rifle, airsoft rifle, paintball, Nerf, it'll feel more like that because the weight's at the top and the controllers are underneath it. So there are others like the Pro Tube or Mag Tube where the controller is attached to the top of the gunstock itself, and that has a very different feel to it. So what are the advantages or disadvantages of this style of gunstock? Well, the disadvantage is definitely occlusion. And what that means is that you've got sensors on the ring of the controller and they need to be visible to the cameras on the headset. So when the back part of the gunstock itself gets in the way, what inevitably happens is you get a bit of controller drift and the gun in the game is moving differently to how your gun is moving in your hands. And that's bad. I really haven't had too many issues with it. So how is this one constructed? Well, it is fundamentally two pieces of metal tube and a load of 3D printed parts. And it all comes separate. You screw the metal tubes into the bits of plastic and you're good to go. So what's good about it? Well, because you can reattach that full grip controller anywhere along the metal tube at the front of the gunstock, you can adjust that in-game to whatever type of weapon you're using, and it works really well, and it's just very intuitive to use. You don't struggle to kind of find that place to reattach it. It works really well. The magnets on each controller are slightly different. The ones on the foregrip have less of a pull than the one on the rear grip, and that means that you've got a little bit more to be able to pull that rifle into your shoulder when you're using it, which is really nice. So the attachments for the magnets on the controllers kind of clip in, and they clip in really nicely. There's a little bit of movement. If you want to, you could cable tie them in more permanently. I personally wouldn't, but it does kind of stop them moving around. Now, I've got a little bit of a peeve with this style of design, and it could just be me, but I like to put my controllers down on the floor, end on, and it's impossible to do that with these because the magnets stick up from the top of the controller so much. So it may not be a deal breaker for you guys, but yeah, it's just a tiny bit of an annoyance for me. They do unclip relatively easily, so if you want to remove them to play other games, you can, and it's no big deal to do that, and you will find you probably do want to do that. So let's talk a little bit about the build quality. As with any 3D printed parts, there's a little bits of plastic left over. You could maybe rub those down if that was causing you a problem, but yeah, fundamentally the build quality is not too bad. It's very solid, nice metal tubes, no issues with those. The only thing I did have a bit of a problem with is just that over time the way the metal tubes are screwed into the 3D printed plastic kind of gives up a little bit, and you may want to dab some glue or something in there, maybe just to stop that happening, because it does rotate like the rear stock and stuff around, which can be a little bit annoying. So other things to note, I bought the extra buffer tube for this gunstock, which allows you to put any mil spec rear stock on there that goes onto a standard buffer tube. So I think I've got a mag pull on this one, and what it gives you is the ability to adjust the length of the rear stock. And that I found really, really useful, because I found the standard stock that it came with, although kind of does the job, wasn't really long enough, and I was on occasion bumping the headset into the stock itself. And fundamentally, there's a bit of a thing there, because there's a fake gun sight on top of it. That kind of sticks up a little bit, and potentially that is something that's getting in the way of the headset, and maybe including the controllers in some way as well. The upside to that particular piece of design, though, is that if you're trying to orientate the rear controller back into its magnetic position, then you can use your other hand to locate that fake sight, and it kind of gives you a good idea of where you need to reattach the rear controller underneath. So that works really well. So the other thing to note maybe is the after sales service, which I found really good. I inquired about the buffer tube when it wasn't available in the UK, got really quick feedback, and within a matter of days that was up and available, and the communication was really good. So really good stuff there. Right, so the conclusion. Would I recommend this Gunstock? Yes and no. So is it good value for money? That's the real question, and I don't necessarily think it is. Currently, this Gunstock's retailing around £60, I think, and for what it is, that's a lot of money. I get that it's out there competing with, say, the Pro Tube, Mag Tube, that kind of thing, which is more money depending on what options you've got on it. But it's a lot of money for a couple of bits of metal tube and some 3D printing plastic. So I think you've really got to consider that. I think if it was around £30-40 price mark, it would be an absolute no-brainer. Go out and get one. But as it is, yeah, it's okay. It'll do the job. It's a great gun stock, but I just think the value for money element is what's sort of holding it back a little bit. And I think maybe they'd sell more, people would be happier with it at a slightly different price point. Thanks for listening today. If you've enjoyed this review and you'd like to see more, then please subscribe, like, do all that standard YouTube stuff. Maybe put some comments in if there's some things you'd like to see reviewed, or some things you'd like me to do differently. That would be great. Thanks very much.